You come home after a hard day. You do not say much. Maybe you put your bag down slowly. Maybe you sit on the couch without turning on the lights. Maybe you try to act normal. But your Chihuahua may notice something is different. Not because they understand every detail. Not because they know exactly what happened. But because they know you. They know your usual voice, your usual steps, your usual way of reaching for them. And when that rhythm changes, they may change too. Sometimes they stop barking. Sometimes they soften their eyes. Sometimes they press their tiny body against you. And sometimes their quiet little gestures feel almost like an apology. Not an apology because they did something wrong, but a silent peace offering. A small way of saying, I know the room feels different. I do not know how to fix it, but I am here. So today, let's look at 5 tiny Chihuahua gestures that may feel like an apology after you have had a bad day. And as you listen, think about your own little one. Which of these quiet gestures do they do for you? Before we begin, tell me your Chihuahua's name in the comments. And tell me this, do they get quiet when you are having a bad day? Because sometimes, the smallest dogs notice the softest changes, and the first sign may be so quiet, you almost miss it. Chihuahuas are not usually known for being quiet observers. They are known for attitude, for quick reactions, for tiny bodies with very big opinions. They bark at sounds other dogs ignore. They notice footsteps outside the door. They hear a plastic bag move in another room. They can go from sleeping to alert in 1 second. That is part of their charm. And sometimes, part of their chaos. Your Chihuahua may run to the door when you come home. They may spin in circles. They may jump at your legs. They may bark like they are announcing your return to the entire neighborhood. To them, your arrival can be the biggest event of the day. But then there are other days. Days when you walk in differently. Your shoulders are lower. Your voice is quieter. Your movements are slower. You do not bend down right away. You do not say their name with the same brightness. You do not laugh when they jump. You do not move through the house with your usual rhythm. And your Chihuahua may pause. That pause matters. Because for a dog who usually reacts quickly, stillness can say a lot. They may stand a few feet away. Their ears may tilt forward. Their eyes may follow you. Their body may become smaller. Not frightened, not dramatic, just careful, as if they are reading the room before entering it. This does not mean your Chihuahua knows exactly what happened. They may not know about the argument. They may not know about the email. They may not know about the disappointment you carried home, but they may notice the change in you. Dogs live close to patterns. They learn routines. They learn tone. They learn the difference between your happy footsteps and your tired ones. They may notice when your voice loses its usual warmth. They may notice when your hands move more slowly. They may notice when you sit down without calling them. They may notice when the room feels heavier than usual. And for a Chihuahua, a dog so often tuned into movement, sound, and closeness, that change may be impossible to ignore. So instead of demanding attention, they may become still. Instead of barking louder, they may quiet down. Instead of pushing their way into your lap, they may wait. And that waiting can feel deeply emotional. Because sometimes, after a bad day, you do not need another demand. You do not need another voice. You do not need someone asking you to explain. You just need the room to stop pulling on you. And somehow, your Chihuahua may sense that. So they make themselves softer, smaller, quieter. They may sit near the doorway. They may watch from the edge of the couch. They may follow you with their eyes, but not rush you. This is one of those moments many Chihuahua owners remember, because it feels different from their usual energy. The same dog who normally wants everything from you suddenly asks for nothing. No game, no treat, no chase, no dramatic greeting. Just presence, just observation, just a tiny heartbeat in the room, waiting to see what you need. And that can feel like a peace offering. Not because your Chihuahua caused your bad day, not because they feel guilty in the human way, but because they may be responding to the tension around you. They may be trying to understand whether the house is still safe, whether you are still available, whether the bond between you still feels steady. And sometimes, the first thing they offer is not comfort, it is respect. They give you space. They give you silence. They do not force joy from you. They do not demand the version of you that comes home smiling. They accept the quieter version too. And that is why this gesture can feel so powerful. Because your Chihuahua may be tiny, but in that moment, they are not acting small. They are acting sensitive. They are adjusting to you. They are letting the room breathe. Think about that for a second. A little dog with so much fire, choosing stillness. A little dog who could bark, choosing silence. A little dog who wants your attention, choosing patience. That is not nothing. That is connection. And if your Chihuahua does this, it may be one of their quietest ways of saying, I can tell something changed. I will not make it harder. I will wait right here. Has your Chihuahua ever stopped playing because your mood changed? Or do they watch you quietly from a distance? Tell me what they do. Because for many owners, this sudden stillness is the first sign, the moment before the comfort begins, the moment your Chihuahua stops reacting to the world and starts paying attention to you. And then, after the stillness, comes the next quiet gesture. It may happen across the room. It may happen from the couch. It may happen while you are sitting on the floor, trying to catch your breath. Your Chihuahua looks at you, but not with pressure, not with demand, not with fear, with something softer, a slow blink, a relaxed face, a gaze that does not ask you to explain anything. And sometimes, that look can make the whole room feel less heavy. And then, after the stillness, comes the look. Not the excited look, not the demanding look, not the look that says, pick me up, feed me. Why are you sitting in my spot? This look is different. It is softer, slower, quieter. Your Chihuahua may sit across from you, maybe on the couch, maybe near your feet, maybe by the doorway. And instead of rushing toward you, they simply look. Their eyes are not wide and sharp. Their face is not tense. Their body is not pushing forward. They may blink once, then again, slowly, almost carefully, and for a moment, it can feel like the room exhales. Now, this does not mean your Chihuahua knows exactly what happened. They may not understand your sadness the way another human would. They may not know the story behind your silence. But dogs are often sensitive to body language. They may notice facial tension. They may notice slower movement. They may notice your quieter voice. They may notice that your attention has turned inward. And in that moment, their softer gaze may be their way of staying connected without adding pressure. That matters. Because when you are already overwhelmed, even love can feel like too much if it comes too loudly. A bark can feel sharp. A jump can feel heavy. A demand can feel like one more thing you cannot carry. But a soft gaze asks for almost nothing. It does not pull on you. It does not interrupt you. It does not make you perform happiness. It simply meets you where you are. There is a difference between a hard stare and a soft gaze. A hard stare can feel intense. The body may be stiff. The eyes may be wide. The mouth may be tight. That kind of stare can sometimes mean tension or discomfort. But a soft gaze feels different. The body looks looser. The eyes look warmer. The blinking is easier. There is no push, no demand, no sharpness, just gentle connection. You sit there, maybe holding your phone, maybe staring at nothing, maybe replaying the day in your head, and then you notice them. Tiny, quiet, looking at you as if they are waiting for your heart to come back into the room. You look back. Your breathing changes a little. Your shoulders drop. Maybe you whisper their name. And that is the bridge. Not magic, not mind reading. A bridge. A small moment of connection between your stress and their calm presence. That soft gaze does not fix your problem. It does not erase the hard conversation. It does not undo the disappointment, but it can soften the room. It can interrupt the heaviness, gently, without words, without pressure. And sometimes, that is what makes it feel like an apology. Not an apology for something they did, but a tiny peace offering to the atmosphere. A way of saying, I feel something changed. I do not want to add to it. I am still here. Does your Chihuahua have that soft look? The one that feels like they are saying, I'm here. Tell me if you have seen it. Because some Chihuahua eyes say more than barking ever could. And once that quiet connection is made, your Chihuahua may move closer. Not loudly, not wildly, just carefully, until that tiny body reaches your side. And then, they lean. And then comes the tiny lean. It may not look dramatic. It may not even look intentional at first. Your Chihuahua simply walks closer, quietly, carefully, no barking, no jumping, no demanding. Just a small body moving into your space. Maybe they press against your leg. Maybe they lean into your hip. Maybe they curl beside your thigh on the couch. Maybe they settle against your ankle. And suddenly, you feel their weight. Tiny, warm, steady. For a dog as small as a Chihuahua, that weight is not much. But emotionally, it can feel enormous. Because after a bad day, your body may still be rushing. Your thoughts may still be loud. Your chest may still feel tight. And then this little dog gives you one clear point of contact. A place to feel. A place to notice. A place to come back to. Not because they are absorbing your stress. Not because they understand every thought in your mind. But because closeness can be calming. For both of you. Your Chihuahua may be seeking safety too. They may feel that something in the room has changed. So they choose the safest place they know. Near you. Against you. Beside you. And in that same moment, their closeness may help you too. That is the beautiful part. The comfort can move both ways. Your Chihuahua leans because they want connection. You feel the lean. And remember, you are not alone. Sometimes love is not loud. Sometimes it is not a dramatic rescue. Sometimes it is not a big emotional moment. Sometimes love is 6 pounds of warmth against your leg. A tiny body saying nothing. And somehow, saying enough. This lean does not ask you to talk. It does not ask you to explain. It does not ask you to become cheerful right away. It only says, I will stay close. That can matter more than people realize, especially with a Chihuahua, because this little dog may spend the whole day waiting for you, listening for your steps, watching the door, learning the rhythm of your return. And when you finally come home different, they may not know what to do. So they do the simplest thing. They come near. They press gently into your world. They offer their body as a quiet reminder. There is still warmth here. There is still softness here. There is still someone beside you. And maybe that is why the lean can feel like an apology. Not an apology in words. Not an apology for guilt, but a small attempt to restore peace. A way of saying, I do not know what hurt you today, but I can sit close while it passes. Where does your Chihuahua lean when they want to be close? Against your leg? On your lap? Beside your hip? Tell me their favorite comfort spot. Because sometimes, the smallest pressure can bring the biggest calm. And after the lean, there is another gesture. Even smaller, even quieter. But for many Chihuahua owners, it goes straight to the heart. One tiny paw, placed gently on your hand. And then comes the paw, one tiny paw, placed gently on your hand, or your arm, or sometimes, right on your chest. It is not always dramatic. It is not always urgent. Sometimes, Your Chihuahua simply walks over, looks at you, and touches you. Just enough to interrupt the silence. Just enough to make you look down. And after a bad day, that small touch can feel much bigger than it looks. Maybe you were sitting there with your thoughts racing. Maybe your hand was resting on your knee. Maybe you were staring at your phone, but not really reading anything. Then suddenly, there it is, a tiny paw, warm, light, careful, and for 1 second, your mind stops running. You are back in the room, back in your body, back with the little dog in front of you. Now, this gesture can mean many things. Your Chihuahua may want attention. They may want comfort. They may want to be picked up. They may want you to pet them. They may have learned that this little paw gets a soft response from you. So we should not give it only one meaning. But in a quiet, emotional moment, that paw can feel like a gentle invitation. Not a command, not a demand, an invitation. As if they are saying, "Come back here for a second. Look at me. Stay with me." And maybe that is why it feels so touching. Because they do not give advice. They do not ask you to explain your mood. They do not tell you to get over it. They only place one tiny part of themselves on one tired part of you. And somehow, that can be enough to shift the moment. You may place your other hand over their paw. You may rub their little toes. You may whisper their name. You may smile for the first time that evening. Not a big smile. Not a fixed everything smile, just a small one. The kind that says, "I am still here, and your Chihuahua is still there too." That is the quiet power of touch. For humans, gentle touch can bring attention back to the present. For dogs, touch can be part of bonding. And between you and your Chihuahua, that tiny contact becomes a shared pause. A pause in the worry. A pause in the replaying. A pause in the heaviness of the day. One paw, one breath, one little reminder. You are not alone in this room. This may be one of the reasons Chihuahua owners remember this gesture so deeply. Because the paw is small, almost impossibly small. But it arrives at the exact moment your thoughts feel too large. And that contrast makes it emotional. A tiny paw against a heavy day. A soft touch against a loud mind. A little dog asking for presents. When you had almost disappeared into your own thoughts. Does your Chihuahua ever place one tiny paw on you? On your hand? Your arm? Your chest? What do you think they are asking for? Because that tiny paw can feel like a sentence without words. And after that touch, after the stillness, after the soft gaze, after the lean, there is one final gesture, the quietest one. But for many Chihuahua owners, it is the one they remember most. Your Chihuahua stays. And the last gesture may be the quietest of all. Your Chihuahua stays. That is it. No big movement, no loud bark, no dramatic rescue, no perfect answer. They just stay. Maybe at your feet, maybe beside your pillow. Maybe pressed against your side on the couch. Maybe watching from across the room. Not too close, not too far, just close enough. And after a hard day, that can feel like everything. Because sometimes, what hurts most is not only the bad day itself, it is feeling alone inside it. It is coming home with a heavy chest and not knowing how to explain it. It is sitting in silence, while your mind keeps replaying things you wish had gone differently. And then your Chihuahua chooses the same room, the same quiet, the same slow evening. They may not understand the meeting. They may not understand the argument. They may not understand the disappointment. But they may notice that you are different. And instead of leaving, they remain near you. That matters. Dogs often form strong bonds with the people who care for them. And many Chihuahuas are deeply attached to their daily person. They learn your routines. They follow your movements. They know where you sit. They know when you usually laugh. They know when the house feels normal. So when the rhythm changes, some Chihuahuas stay close. Maybe because they want comfort too. Maybe because your presence feels safe to them. Maybe because they have learned that being near you brings connection. And maybe, in their own quiet way, they are helping the room feel safe again. Not by fixing anything, not by understanding everything, but by staying. The quiet stay is different. It is not a trick. It is not a performance. It is not dramatic. It is your Chihuahua choosing your side of the couch, choosing the foot of your bed, choosing the little space next to your leg, choosing not to leave you alone with the heaviness. And sometimes, that feels like a silent apology. Not because they did something wrong, not because they are guilty, but because their presence feels like peace returning. Little by little, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat. When you finally reach down, they may lift their head, their eyes may soften again, their tail may move once or twice, not wildly, just enough, as if they were waiting for permission to come closer. You touch their head, you feel their warmth, and the day is still hard. But it is no longer only hard. There is softness in it now. There is a tiny body beside you. There is a quiet friend who did not ask for an explanation. There is a Chihuahua who simply stayed. And maybe that is the real gift. Your Chihuahua may not say, "I'm sorry." They may not understand apology the way humans do. They may not know what part of the day hurt you. But they may offer something that feels very close. A softer room, a slower breath, a tiny paw, a warm lean, a quiet choice to remain nearby. And when all 5 gestures come together, the sudden stillness, the slow blink, the tiny lean, the gentle paw, and the quiet stay, they create something beautiful. Not proof that your Chihuahua knows everything, not proof that they can heal every wound, but a reminder. You are seen in small ways. You are known in small ways. You are loved in small ways. And sometimes, small love is exactly what reaches us. So the next time you come home heavy, watch your Chihuahua, not with pressure, not expecting them to act a certain way. Just gently. Notice if they pause. Notice if their eyes soften. Notice if they come closer. Notice if one tiny paw appears on your hand. Notice if they stay near you, even when you have nothing to give. And if they do, you can answer softly. Say their name. Touch their shoulder. Let them sit close. Take one slower breath with them. You do not have to make the moment huge. You do not have to turn it into a lesson. You only have to notice. Because noticing is part of love too. And for a Chihuahua, being noticed by their person may be its own kind of comfort. So maybe it is not really an apology. Maybe it is something simpler, and maybe something deeper. A little dog saying, "I know the room feels different. I do not know how to fix it, but I will stay." Tell me your Chihuahua's name in the comments, and tell me the quiet little thing they do when you are not okay. Do they lean? Do they blink slowly? Do they place a paw on you? Or do they simply stay close? Because sometimes, the smallest dogs leave the softest marks on our hardest days.